Welcome to my channel. I'm going to show you step by step how to value a stock. We will enter the company's financial information and capital structure into my Excel model. Then we determine whether the stock is a buy or a sell. At the end, we calculate and analyze the financial ratios. I am doing this with you throughout the entire video, so it's like we're doing it together. Please leave a comment because I answer everyone. The company we're going to look at today is WP Carey. This is a REIT that invests in properties leased to single tenants via triple N leases. It owns 1,214 properties in 25 countries. 64% of its revenue comes from the US, 36% from Europe. Let's get started with the model. This company has a market cap of $12.5 billion. So that's the value of the company according to the stock market. So it's considered a large cap company since its market cap is above 10 billion. They're trading at 71.75. And the way you value a company is you estimate the future free cash flows and then discount that back to today's dollars. And that's what we're doing in this video. Now I'm pulling their actual free cash flows. Free cash flow is cash flow from operations minus capital expenditures. Now let's pull the net income. That's the profit and loss on the income statement. And we'll throw that into the model. And we also need the revenue, which are the sales. That's the rent and lease payments this company receives from its customers. Let's look at the numbers. Everything looks pretty good. Their free cash flow is fairly steady. It jumps in 2019. $500 million a year in free cash flow. That's good. Net income also looks pretty good. It's fairly steady and positive. And their revenue has been increasing. So everything looks good so far. Let's get their interest expense. $233 million. That's how much interest they pay in their debt. Let's go to the balance sheet to see how much debt they have. We'll go to the liability section. And current debt, no current debt. Long-term debt is $6 billion. That's debt due after 12 months. Most REITs don't pay interest since they distribute at least 90% of their profit as dividends. So their cost of debt is 3.9%. Let's get the beta so we can figure out the cost of equity. And that's 0.78. So they have a low beta, which means the stock moves less than the market. Let's go back to the balance sheet to get their current assets. And in order to calculate the current ratio later, we need the current assets. 354 million of current assets. That's 196 million of cash, 1.1 million in net receivables. We also need the current liabilities to calculate the current ratio. That's 668 million. And that's 487 million of accounts payable, and they don't list the other items. Let's get the stockholders' equity. That's the value of the company according to the balance sheet at $7 billion, 172,000 common stock, negative 1.6 billion of retained earnings. Most REITs seem to have negative retained earnings because they pay so much out in dividends, and negative 218 million in accumulated other comprehensive income. We also need their operating income. That's on the income statement. We need this to calculate the interest coverage ratio later. That's 534 million. Let's look at the capital structure. That 47% debt, cost of debt 3.9%, 53% equity, cost of equity 8.3%, and a WACC of 6.2%, which is a blend of the cost of debt and cost of equity. And that's a discount rate we're going to apply to the future cash flows. So we estimated 4 years of future free cash flows. That's up here in blue. We also estimate a terminal value, which is all cash flows past year 4. That's $15 billion. Then we got to discount these numbers back to today's dollars using the weighted average cost of capital. That's here in green. We get a value of the company at $15 billion. We divide that by 174 million shares. And we get a calculated stock price of $86. They're trading at $72, so they're trading at a 16% discount. So it's a buy according to the model. Let's see what Simply Wall Street says. And they're even higher. They're at 105. So they see the value of this company even greater than my model does. And it looks like the stock was trading closer to what my model says before coronavirus. It dropped a lot, but it has come up, but it still seems like it's a good value. Let's look at the financial ratios. Bad PE, bad price of sales, and a good price to book. PE is stock price over earnings per share. To calculate earnings per share, that's net income over shares outstanding. And I see below 15, they're at 41. So investors are paying $41 for $1 of net income. Price of sales is stock price over sales per share. To calculate sales per share, that's revenue or shares outstanding. I like to see below 2.5, they're at 10, so investors are paying $10 for $1 sales. Price to book is stock price over book value per share. To calculate book value per share, that's equity over shares outstanding. I like to see below 3.5, they're at 1.8. That means investors are willing to pay $2 for $1 book value, so this is a really good ratio. And when valuing a REIT, you should always look at funds from operations. Funds from operations is net income plus depreciation and amortization minus the gains on sale of real estate. And this is a common ratio to look at for REITs. And price over funds from operations per share is 14.59, which is a pretty good ratio. Like PE, I like to see below 15 for this number. They have a bad current ratio, bad ROE, and a good interest coverage ratio. Current ratio is current assets over current liabilities, so they cannot cover their current debts and payables, which means they may need to take on more debt. ROE is net income over equity. I like to see above 20%. They're at 4%. Interest coverage ratio is EBIT over interest expense. And I like to see above 2. They're at 2.3, so they can cover their interest payments. This company is in the industry REIT diversified, and I don't have any other REITs that I've done a video on in this industry, so I can't compare them to anybody else. Let me know what you think of the video. Please leave a comment. I answer everyone. Thanks for watching.